So we had this incredible experience, in the central Kalahari with these incredible hunter-gatherers. But what I could obviously see was they were deep inside of nature in a very powerful way, and they had this incredible ability to track animals. It was just mind-blowing, and I was amazed by it. But I was also very um, like disenchanted with myself because I felt so useless in this regard, even though I'd spent my whole time in nature. So they gave me the inspiration and the idea to just go back to the ocean and dive every day for 10 years, every single day, no matter what happened, even if I was sick, and try to learn to track animals underwater. So that was the idea, you understand? So that I could somehow also get some sense of this incredible world that they were able to access through this animal tracking, this oldest language on earth. So that whole process and that inspiration led me to actually want to stop filmmaking, do absolutely no filmmaking, only try, cut my money consumption down, just cut everything back and just learn this. And I only took a little camera into the water for years, and I was only using the camera to learn this tracking and learn about these animals underwater. And had enough of filmmaking. But then, of course, I met this incredible octopus and started getting this extraordinary footage and everything. And then I called my great friend Roger Horrocks, who's an incredible underwater cinematographer with his huge cameras and everything. And even you can hardly carry this thing on land, but of course it weighs nothing in the water. And then he'd come and join me. And, then the whole team got together and we eventually put that film together. So it was a whole long process. So I purposely didn't name her. I just called her my teacher. That was of course you want to give a name, but I didn't want to have the sense of this is animals a pet or it's cute or whatever. It really was like she was this unbelievable teacher that took me not only into her incredibly complex secret life, but she introduced me to like the 50 animals that she hunts, all her predators as well, the sharks, the seals, the otters that try and hunt her, and then a whole nother group of animals, which are her cleanup crew. After she's made a kill, they come and clean up everything. The brittle stars even eat her poop and everything. So through her and through her trusting me, I learned like incredible information about the secret lives of all these animals that live with her in the forest. You just do it very, very slowly. You do not, you don't, you keep your whole body, you have to change the way your body moves. You've got to keep your pressure waves down, your movements. You mustn't just come straight and approach her straight on. You always very gentle movements in the water, staying away. Let her come to you. Let her curiosity overcome her. And eventually she realizes, okay, you're not a threat. And as soon as she realizes you're not a threat, and she, of course, recognizes you, they're as clever as a dog or a cat, easily. Then she will go about her business, and then you get to see into her secret life. She will even sometimes use me as like a decoy in huntings. If I happened to be there, then she'd get between myself and the prey, and then kind of use me as a shield to hunt, all this kind of thing. So it was just an incredible experience. I spent a year with her, but I would be, sometimes an hour to 2 hours a day with her. Depending. Some days I couldn't find her, always. If she was completely out, it was difficult. But it was just, most days. And then some days would be very exciting, some days very boring. If you'd made a kill already and she was just in the den, she's often not, too interested in too much. But then some days it's just so mind-blowing. And you're seeing things that are, absolutely remarkable. So what starts to happen is you start to see You must remember, you're developing this relationship with hundreds of these animals, different species. So they become so familiar and they teach you so much. They become the only word that I can find that's close to the feeling is kin. It's nothing like having a pet at home. I've had incredible pets, but it's nothing like that. They like family, kin relationship. And sometimes, very occasionally, you feel part of that wild environment. You feel like a wild animal yourself. And I'm diving without a wetsuit, so adapting my body to the cold. The water can get pretty cold here sometimes. So your brain chemistry is changing. There's enormous amounts of dopamine and adrenaline produced by the cold. So it's quite an incredible experience, coupled with, you know, being close to these animals and being trusted by some of them, and then seeing these, you know, unbelievable things. What comes to mind is I became fascinated with these fish that are one of her prey species. And these animals are the giant rocksucker or clingfish. The animal is, you know, a foot long. It's got a giant suction pad under the body instead of a fin. And this fish in a huge mouth and big yellow teeth. And this fish can surf out of the water and cling to the rock, and then the water goes away. 2 meters out of the water it surfs. And it can actually survive for up to 4 or 5 hours out the water if it remains wettish. And it's trying to hunt limpets, mollusks that are high up on the rocks. So it's surfing up the rocks, and then when it's attached to the rock, it'll wait and for another wave. And as the wave crests, it goes and grabs the mollusk and twists its muscular body, and like a bottle top, turning the mollusk off, drops back into the water, and it swallows this whole thing, shell and all. It's got this massive modified mouth. You know, and I see things like that. It's just, you know, there's no literature on this. It's just, you know, mind-blowing. An air-breathing fish that surfs out of the water to catch its prey. You know, this is the kind of thing that, you know, you're seeing, and then you're seeing the octopus hunting these animals, and it's so many fascinating things. I'd been filmmaking for 25 years with my brother, always behind the camera, never in front of the camera. So it was a huge adjustment to get used to that. And after a while, of course, that changes, and then you can use that exposure for conservation and all the things you're passionate about. And of course, the exposure allows you to do books, because otherwise it's, as you know, very hard to get a book deal with a good publisher, you know, which we have with HarperCollins. They're fabulous. And especially the last book now, Amphibious Soul, that was kind of a really wonderful experience that I so enjoyed. It wasn't that different. You know, when you're doing a big coffee table book with photographs, that is not very different to filmmaking at all. In fact, it's for me much easier. And yeah, the writing amount and style is also not that different. So that was just a very pleasant, enjoyable experience. And I didn't find that that different to the filmmaking. Just a lot less pressure, you know, and you're not dealing with film execs and all that kind of thing. The literature industry is much softer. It's almost a form of therapy, self-therapy in a way. I don't know if you've had that experience. I know you've written an enormous number of books, but it's a therapy of like, okay, I've been through this strange experience and struggled with this exposure and everything. Now what? Let me get some of this stuff out and see how it affects me. And it was a very powerful experience, actually. because you obviously, I mean, well, maybe you're very efficient, but I wrote a lot of material that was then edited right down. So it was just writing every day and getting these thoughts and these ideas out on paper. But I had this sort of intuitive feeling that we are so amphibious by nature. You know, most animals outcompete us so easily in speed or strength or whatever. But even these massive primates that are so much stronger than us cannot even come close to competing with us in the water. We just swim far better, we dive far better. But then as I got deeper into the book, I realized that there was something else that wanted to be said. And that was this, that we all consciously or unconsciously live in two worlds. We have 3 million years of memories of evolution, of living wild, like I lived wild with those incredible swan hunters in the Kalahari. All that's inside of us. And then you've got this other really strange, bizarre, techno, tame world that we've all been plunged into with all the technology and the also incredible things that come with that. So I was interested in how do you navigate these two crazy worlds that are sitting inside this being? And what is the effect of suppressing that wild creature, that wild being that's inside all of us? What happens when you do that? And then they were saying, okay, you've got all these ideas, try and put 10 major ideas down and then start to fit all the stuff you've written, 150,000 words plus, try and fit them into these 10 kind of concepts. So I was sort of slowly fitting these stories because I'd just come out the water and I just write. I wasn't like all structured, and I was just trying to write raw from what it's like to be in these wild places. And then they sort of, amazingly, they kind of, quite a few of them fitted nicely into these 10 ideas or chapters, headings. And then of course, the editing began, and I was slowly pared it down. So I mean, the thing that comes immediately in mind is the animal tracking. That's this pattern recognition. And as I said before, this oldest language on earth. So if you can start to speak that language, then you can really get in touch with that wild person that's inside you. And I even tried to, when I eventually had to go on the book tour, I tried to see if I could track in a big city. And I was actually quite surprised that I was able to get into full tracking mode in London and in New York. So I'm walking and I'm trying to, I challenged myself. So I went to the place where it's like the center of London or the center of New York. And then I just open my sensory system like I do in the wild. And I'm looking for patterns and signs and to see if I can penetrate into the animals that are maybe in that environment. And you'd think there wouldn't be too much, but I mean, I found these incredible tracks that I immediately recognized as mollusk teeth marks. The same marks, very similar marks that those limpets that fish catchers that I was telling you about make on the kelp, I found on the sidewalks of London everywhere, these beautiful marks, and took photographs of these teeth marks everywhere. And they turned out to be slugs they were short in the day, but I realized they were coming out of holes at night, hundreds and hundreds of them. And then I'd find, tracks of dogs, of squirrels, of, rats, birds, so many things that were sometimes coming there. Even though you can't see them, you can see the tracks. And then, of course, people and what they're leaving, where they're leaving their chewing gum. That tells you a lot about how they feel about the place or where they're stopping. How, if people are walking in puddles, how fast they're walking, how much are they in a hurry? Are they, if someone got a limp, how you can almost feel the personality of the person in the way they're walking. So all this information, but what is at essence, you're still practicing this primal activity of following the signs left by animals and people. And that's what triggers my primal mind and makes me feel more comfortable. And I felt I suddenly belonged to that little place in Bloomsbury in London or wherever, because I could feel the heartbeat of the place through the tracks.